You can go when you're ready.
All right, we're going to get started here. I go. I go. I go. All right. It's an honor and pleasure to join you here this evening. Those that don't know, my name is Safo Akish Kwabi, and I'm going to be moderating, emceeing this particular event. And we'd like to thank you all for coming out here this evening. And before we begin, just wanted to let everybody know the restrooms are first and foremost to the back. If you go out, either one of these doors is back past the soda machines. And so I'd like to, again, welcome you all, Kwaba. And first, before I begin, I would like to ask my elders permission to speak. All right. Well, we'd like to first give it up for you all for coming out here this evening. Let's clap it up. Thank you all. It's a pleasure to see you all coming to get this very valuable knowledge. And just to let everybody know, we do have vendors here, some vegetarian food in the back that's getting set up, and we also have some folk that's on the way that have food coming as well. And also, just to like to thank all the mothers in the house today. Y'all spent some time with your mothers today. What has been a wonderful event for us to bring our mothers. I asked my mother would she like to come, but sometimes, how folk do, but it's all good, brothers and sisters. And so, but I was hoping to see Brother Nehemiah's mother. y'all know Brother Nehemiah? All right. I thought she would be here, but definitely I wanted to give her a special shout out, keep her in, our prayers. And but also, did anybody bring any flus in here, right? No swine flu? Yeah, y'all kept that outside, and we kept the chips. Y'all took off y'all chip, right? Check it at the door, and Willie chip. As I heard Bobby, I heard Colin say, we don't need no chips. Some of you just gonna be controlled by the white man regardless. And so I like to say that. But also, just brothers and sisters, there's a lot of different things going on as Baba continues to set up Monsanto. They just passed the bill, the Food Sanitation Act, Food Modernization Act. So hopefully, if you got some intel on that, I know you got what you wanted to talk about. But I'm explain. Oh, right, good. Say again? Explain. Oh, okay. Well, the Food Modernization Act, brothers and sisters, HR 7875. And what it is Monsanto is now, everyone knows about the Monsanto is the chemical, genetically engineered foods. They're the major company going around and taking out small farmers all over the country. And so I just got a little piece of that, off the recent internet. But look at this bill up, HR 875. All right. So just look that up, and I tell you, it's how this thing is going down. It's a war against the organically grown food. And so, and how they do the whole scene. First Queen, what's that? We saw this DVD that was the future of food. I think that's a documentary that's out that deals with Monsanto and where this whole thing is going, that where you're going to be criminalized even for growing your own food. So this is some type of thing that's going on. And another bill is HR 1913, the Sexual Confusion Identity Discrimination Bill. This is the gender-based bill where if you even think about saying something about someone that's gender confused, then some folk are coming to get you. As Brother Bobby put out in his Gay Boulay piece, and if anybody got that, raise your hands. Y'all got that Gay Boulay piece that Brother Bobby Hemmitt did? Oh man, ain't nobody see that? Oh man.
I got some Boulay, but not that.
Oh man, did you bring somebody? That Gay Boulay piece that you did in 03.
They can go on YouTube.
Yeah, it's a lot of clips on YouTube, but I got it on VHS, so I got both of them on VHS, so he lays out that whole Gay Boulay piece, and that was certainly an enlightening piece. But let me just get into this dialogue, we'd like to thank the creator for this glorious day. We also thank the creator for the guest speaker, Brother Bobby Hemmitt, who is one of the most intelligent and provocative individuals to ever walk the face of the earth. Brother Hemmitt is an internationally known metaphysician who has the courage and the conviction to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help us God. Today, we are honored to have him conduct a lecture on melanin, an organizing unit of consciousness, the mystical Dogon civilization, and the new cosmic realities. Without further ado, brothers and sisters, I would like for you to come to your feet and give a warm welcome for our brother, strong brother dropping his good knowledge to us. Brother Bobby Hemmitt.
All right. To piggyback off what he's talking about based on the this whole new food thing is this. And we'll give out that diabetes cure again. We got gave it out over the radio. We're gonna pull libation. We're gonna get into this stuff, and hopefully, the people who come is the people who's supposed to be here. People will trickle in. This is a pretty good starting crowd, Don't get along, because our people do come late. To piggyback off that, if you could, I was up in Walmart about 2 weeks ago, and last year around this time, or year before last, either 2007, 2008, Pepsi Cola had to come out and announce that their Aquafina water was coming from a regular water purifying plant. So they figured that if they came clean, then maybe Coca-Cola and the rest of it would come clean. But they stuck their head out there and was left out there. Sometimes these are spiritual things that happen to create certain reactions. So since they was left out there as the people who were selling sink water, they decided to redirect their image the very next year. Around April of this year, they came out with Pepsi and Mountain Dew throwback. I was up in Walmart, I say, Pepsi and Mountain Dew throwback? Like yesteryear. And then it says on there, made with natural sugar. I say, so to clean up their image based on the Aquafina thing, they come and tell a bit of the truth. And that's what happens every now and then. Every now and then there's a family fight that happened and they'll give out the truth. Well, since Coca-Cola didn't back them the same way, given where their water came from or what have you, and other companies, they decided, well, we'll do some damage control. So they put out Pepsi throwback and Mountain Dew throwback. And it says made with natural sugar, as opposed to something that's not made with natural sugar, which is high fructose corn syrup. Now, they got commercials they've been running for the last 6 months, since the fall of the year, or since the fall of last year, on high fructose corn syrup. And they have the commercial, and the person say, ooh, high fructose corn syrup. Ooh, that ain't good. And the other person say, you don't know nothing about it, it's all natural. So they're telling the truth, but they're not telling the truth. It is natural in the aspect of it might not be chemical, but what they don't tell you is high fructose corn syrup, which is made out of the same sugar cane, is made out of genetically modified sugar cane. Right. So when Pepsi said Pepsi throwback made with natural sugar, it means it's not made with genetically modified sugar cane or high fructose corn syrup, which is genetically modified sugar cane. You see. Now Dr. Andal said they had a famine a couple of years ago in Africa, and they had helicopters and boats was getting ready to drop off this genetically modified food. And somehow the Africans was throwing rocks at it and was protesting that they didn't want the genetically modified foods. And they didn't have to research or anything to know what genetically modified food is. Their spirit told them this is bad. Just like our spirit used to pick up on things before we got sophisticated or educated. Their spirit, it's like that woman that told her children, you all don't go to church today. and they would have been blown up in the church in what, Mississippi was that Alabama? That was Alabama. With the 3 girls or 4 girls that got blown up with Alabama. So they picked up on the spirit. So this whole was literally hundreds of Africans protesting that they didn't want the genetically modified foods. So the key here is this, and so which is how I was able to find out about genetically modified sugarcane was one of the brothers who used to bring me to Houston, Texas every year. He would drive a long distance truck, he'd park it in the field, and they would load the truck up, and he would drive it to the sugarcane factory. They would load it up with sugarcane. And that's all he did was just sit there, he had a lot of time to study. He had a DVD player in the car, in the truck, and they just load his truck up and he would drive it to the factory. And he was the one that said, Bobby, the sugarcane that I drive to the factory is not the sugarcane. The sugarcane, if anybody ever seen real sugarcane, it used to be as big as a Kennedy 50 cent. Or what they call a $1. It was big. He said now it's about around the size of a nickel or a dime. It's a small sugarcane. He said, and not only is it a small sugarcane, he said the factories will not allow natural sugarcane. They only buy and process the genetically modified sugarcane. See what I'm coming from here? Which is where type 2 diabetes came from. So you can track, because when we grew up, there was no, anybody who had diabetes had type 1. People was born with it, you know what I'm saying? Just like sickle cell or just like epilepsy or something. It was rare. And then somewhere in the 80s, the doctors started diagnosing people with type 2 diabetes. That's because of the genetically modified sugars. You see what I'm saying? You see, so we know we can track the origin of this now. We can track the origin of this now. So I gave out the diabetes cure. It's cure on the radio, but basically we found a better cure, which is basically you just take a live cactus and either boil it or eat it raw, eat the pulp of the live cactus. So we can learn things from other cultures because this is what the Mexicans do. You laughing at them, but they ain't got the diabetes like you because they're workers. They can't be coming over here sick. They gotta work for America. So so at the botanicals, at the Mexican supermarkets and different things like that, they eat the live cactus. Or either they boil the cactus, or either way you want to do it, but you want to eat the pulp, and that gives you the diabetes. Or stops the onset of it. You see. There was another one that they said it was a diabetes, it was a cactus, Nepal cactus powder and prickly pear you mix with it. And that did it, but a lot of people have problems finding the prickly pear, so only thing you have to do is this, that's just the supplement because of the powder form, you need the prickly pear. But if you can get the live cactus, you can eat that. You see, you can eat that. So, we'll give out some other remedies and different things like that, as well as a lot of rituals, especially these on honey. What we're going to be dealing with tonight is the angelic stimulus package. The cosmic stimulus package or the angelic stimulus package. I got a check here that white folks gave me. To deal with money, I want to know what the white folks is doing. White folks gave me this check. We're going to be giving out this check for $5. You see up there say the angels? That's what we're dealing with. We're going to go into this particular science. You see. But it's no joke. It's stuff that works. We're dealing with it. We don't want to deal with a whole lot of things that don't work. So I don't get into arguments now over history. Something's not going to free you. You got big arguments over history. People argue over Dogon history, and all the history is ours. Even if you argue on the history of Japan, that's black. You argue on the history of China, that's black. So who gives a damn about what concepts of history? That's not going to free us. That's not, you see what I'm saying? So everybody is doing this, they got wars against this, they got to have a big debate 2 weeks ago up in New York and all this is to distract you. You see what I'm saying? We were all over the world, and wherever you go, there we are. So what's the argument of history?
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? What's the argument of history? So what we're dealing with now is things that work. That's the results. You say you be in something long enough, black people, the only people stick around with something and be in it for years and it don't work. I.e. religion, you see what I'm saying? Voting or whatever type thing. You see, so, even Barack Obama didn't get there because you put him there. He got there because somebody decided that they needed, you see what I'm saying, a certain face to go through the hard times that was getting ready to happen to them. They needed to change up some stuff. You see what I'm saying? But on the other hand, there's two. Because I told people this now. I was a proponent of the Barack Obama force when it comes to the energy that came behind this black man and this black woman as a form of the return of the pharaohs. Now I was behind that part. This is Michelle. I looked at that. It was a nice color picture, but the color copy of that Office Depot was broke. That's Michelle on that side, and that's Barack. So we're dealing with that concept. We're dealing with that concept based on history. But now, if you think for 1 minute that by him being in the office, you're going to be free, or your condition's going to be better, you know what I'm saying? Because the first thing happened when he won is certain black people started looking for conditions to change. However, when in the world did somebody get a job, change your condition? He just got a 4-year or 8-year job. You see, I can see if it was a monarchy, but it's a job. You see where I'm coming from here? And it's a job for somebody else. Now, gotta understand this particular part though. We're looking at it from a spiritual end. And that's what we take from it, because he only is a sign of us rising spiritually. Understand the difference? He is a sign of us rising. But politically, physically, and economically, no. You see, and they made sure that they gave him a fucking burning building. It was going to take 8 years just to clean up anyway, even if he was true of heart. But they made a mistake by giving us Michelle. You see what I'm saying? That's one of the energies. The child of the slave. And when she went to Europe, they rallied around her all over Europe. Now they went to, they got the editor of Vogue magazine, which was his brother. And he said, they say, so what's up? Michelle just wear what the hell she wants. He said, yeah, and as a result, now the fashion people is looking to her to set the trends. That's how she set the trend. She done made a ragged-ass cardigan sweater that she wore up to see the queen. Now they buying the hell out of cardigan sweaters. This sister is setting the trend. She can do it because they never had nobody look like her. You understand what I'm saying? They had nobody that dark before. So as a result, the psyche sets the trend is something new, so she can, she can wear a damn miniskirt from 1982. You see her some hot pants, and then she can come back in style. You see, she might bring back the fucking Jerry curl. White folks be wearing the Jerry curl. Because we're talking about an energy, but we'll get into the science on that in a few minutes. But before we go into the return of this pharaonic, which is not necessarily Barack Obama is the pharaoh, you are the pharaoh. The word pharaoh actually is translated Pharaoh, Heru. And the Heru is inside of all of us. So we're talking about the return. There was a double White House in Egypt. The house of the living and the house of the dead. The house of the dead is actually the house that's living, because the physical living is death. So the White House is the house of the living, but there's a house of the dead, a double inauguration. They have an inauguration when they have a new pharaoh. The house of the living and the house of the dead. The house of the dead just means spirit world. get it spooked out. It's the house of the ancestors. You see. So that was a great inauguration period that happened, but there was a whole lot of spiritual stuff that we'll get into that happened. But if you're looking at the physical stuff, you're going to be disappointed because it's just a job he has. Okay, but today is Mother's Day, which is interesting because we're going to be dealing with here again. This is the goddess Yeminya. In Dogon, she's called Eminya. In Dogon, since we're dealing with the Dogon today, we're dealing with the goddess Eminya. Somebody get me some paper napkins because I know damn well I forgot my towel, so I'm gonna be sweating up the place in a minute. That's Kundalini energy. So the goddess Eminya is the Dogon goddess. The goddess Yeminya is the Yoruba goddess, and later on Santeria in the Western Hemisphere, which is Eminya, Dogon, Yemonsha, Yoruba, and Yeminya, Santeria, which is the Afro-Caribbean transplant of the Americans. So this is fitting to deal with the one they call Big Mama on Mother's Day. You see, on Mother's Day. The one they call Big Mama on Mother's Day. Now there was one picture, this is a thing of it, that's another representation. I'm kind of glad that Africans did use this as a form of representation because we got a lot of mothers that look like that. You see, so shit need to be identified. You see, Elizabeth Taylor can't play that. You see what I'm saying? You know, the old Oprah could. You see, but nevertheless, I'm looking at the whole thing with the. A lot of people they say they don't really like it as much. The #1 ladies detective agency with Jill Scott. I told him, I said, look, you gotta understand something spiritual. Oh, how many? Is it 2 little pieces? Oh, that ain't 3 or 4. I do this one. Oh, that ain't gonna work. Yeah, okay. I said, I can't get you for that. Yeah. But anyway, I said, look, anytime you can have a woman as big as Jill Scott exude that type of beauty on the screen, whereas you're not looking at the traditional person where somebody has programmed you to say this is beautiful, and she comes in her essence, wipes out that whole trademark of some skinny woman, then you know that's some power. And all the Africans going crazy about her. So I said that's some power. And only a black woman can pull that off. You see what I'm saying? So this is interesting here. When they depicted this particular deity, giving y'all as Big Mama. Now there was a picture that I was going to bring. It's a picture of a mermaid deity with long dreadlocks that was produced out of the islands. And I was going to actually use it as those pictures that I sell over there. But when I was trying to make it, I had a lecture about a month ago in Atlanta. When I was trying to make the actual picture, the Xerox machine or the copy machine stopped acting up. And then it wouldn't start back until I actually read the passage, which was up under the picture. And it was talking about this deity kills people. And then I realized, oh, I can't sell this. I can't sell this, especially black people. You get mad with a person, you know what I'm saying, because he scratched you know, open a can of milk or a carton of milk and you accidentally get scratched. You want to kill somebody. Because you know, the history of our roots is we kill people with petty shit. You know, no white people fell out the whole time. We was in this segregation and oppression and all this kind of stuff, but we killed a lot of black people with the magic. Over petty shit. I don't like the rich. So I said, now I ain't gonna put this out. I'm not gonna put this one out. But the deity that they took it from was the mermaid deity Olokun, which is the water or the mermaid form of Yeminya. Yeminya is the land mother. Olokun is the goddess of the sea, although Yeminya is also depicted as the goddess of the sea. So this mermaid deity, this is one picture. They didn't even want me to make this one. This is one picture, but this one is kind of benign and harmless. But the other one, and they took it from a legend that they have down in the islands where they say men will be walking through the island. I guess if you look, if you tickle her fancy, if you cut the grade of what she's turned on by, they will see this beautiful mermaid woman would just come up out of the river, out of the sea, or whatever have you. And the men, she'd be so beautiful, the men would automatically, she beckons them on and entice them, and they would automatically try to get busy with her. And she would take them under the water, and they'd never be seen again. Now these are true accounts of this mermaid deity from the Caribbean. So the piece that I got, where they say kills men and kills people, I said, no, I don't need it. That's her ferocious side. But anyway, this mermaid deity, they have accounts of her doing this all over the Caribbean, where she would come up on the sea and to entice these men and take them down as a lover for life. Now the key here is, and probably it doesn't necessarily have anything probably to do where she corresponds to them based on how physically, sexually you are, sexy you are, physical attraction. I think it has something to do with your soul and your spirit. You know, she's chiming off of your soul and your spirit, you see what I'm saying? That kind of thing. Good thing I was in the bed because I got visited by her and Origim broke me off some booty back in the early 2000s and stuff. We was rolling and all, even had a little fight. We had a fight going on between Oshun, which is the daughter, and the mama Hemmitt and stuff. So they came through and broke me off some. Well, you know, you can do that. You can commune with the spirits. As a matter of fact, that's the next level for you to empower you to get back to that God level. If we are nothing but gods in the physical, then you can commune with the gods. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, it's quite excellent. But it got into a fight because I had, at this time, I was in between my former queen and the sister I'm with now. So I had this moment of play. You know what I'm saying? Well, I lined up a bunch of ladies on the roster. You see what I'm saying? And we had a good jamboree time for about 4 or 5 years. And it got to the point where it started happening where I would have one sister over, and if this sister was an Oshun girl, she would have problems with Yemiya. If I have another sister over and she was a Yemiya girl, they would have problems with Oshun. And they would come in and let shit be known. To show you communing in the spirit. Now this is nothing that is out of the ordinary if you understand the science of it. This is the next level of where we are going. Of where we're going. Let me give you some things that might pop in your head. You should be at this particular time understand that sex is really an unfulfilling process in the particular aspect that you're always running after it and it never stays around. What I'm trying to say here is this. There's got to be a point where as you want something permanent, a permanent state of bliss. Not, you know what I'm saying? You know, after so many years, you know what I'm saying, you shouldn't be turned on or you shouldn't be excited about having sex in a particular aspect on a certain level. There's supposed to be several levels where you go spiritually, but you're supposed to rise to another level, whereas you want that bliss all the time, or you want that bliss to be something that is transformed. We'll go into that. I'm going ahead of myself. We'll go into that. It's called transcendent love or transcendent sex, whereas you get a complete wholeness, and that's when you become God, where the access is through the thought process and also through a whole other world that you got more control over than just trying to run around and have sex with somebody. So I'm going ahead of myself, so we're going to get into that transcendent type thing. And some of you people that feel a little unfulfilled, you might not even have a mate. That is for a reason. Because there's another realm you're supposed to be dealing with this stuff on, and you still looking at the lowest realm. You understand what I'm saying? Which is hit or miss. You see, it's a fleeting moment compared to the bliss where you're supposed to be going. We'll go back into that. We'll go back into that. But this family fight went on between Oshun and Yeminya, and it played out until we was up in New York City, and there was a sister Kimberly that was living in Long Island at the time, because she was from Long Island. She used to live in Atlanta. She since then moved back to Atlanta. As a matter of fact, she moved back a few days later, and there was a sister, my business partner at that time, the sister Delbert. She had come up to New York on a business thing. We used to do some stuff. We used to be in business together. And so what we had to do, we had to go to Montauk Point, Long Island, because this Yeminya and this Oshun thing had gotten in a little tug of war. Now, meanwhile, these are rituals and systems that you have to go through for initiation. So we had to go to Montauk Point, Long Island, and put a blessing in the water for Oshun, and put a blessing in the water for Yeminya. So one of the sisters had to act as Oshun, the other sister had to act as Yeminya, as a role playing, and we had to put these fruits, flowers, vegetables, or whatever kind of offering in the water, things they like, colors in the water for these two goddesses. 2 days later, here's the two goddesses, here is 2 days later, 2 towers fell, 9/11. Now, I was traveling all over the country, and people would come up to me and go, no, I saw a tug of war between 2 spirits when the 9/11 thing happened. And it took me last month to figure this out, that tug of war of 2 entities or energies was those 2 goddesses, which represented 2 towers. And ever since 9/11, I have heard people come up to me and say, no, I saw a vision of 2 forces battling when those towers was falling. Then we get this whole thing with these 2 goddesses. Now, it's not like these goddesses are enemies, but they are playing out a role for a certain amount of energies to come through to the planet, or principalities. You see what I'm saying? This great mother, paid close attention to her, and when we go into this Dogon thing, when we go into this particular Dogon aspect, she's going to show back up again. We're going to try to tie in some of these types of things. What I'm going to do is I'm going to post some libations. Now, what I do as research now is I don't go and just get a whole lot of scholarship and start researching on it. I had to do a lot of that in the 90s. I had to come with big bags of books, because there was a lot of system that our people that we had to re-blacken, because they had taken all of this mystery system that was brought up to Europe by the Moors, and they preserved it after the Moors was ousted. And during that time of this particular all this material, they ended up separating it. One became general education, and one became the occult. And then the occult became the New Age. And the New Age was nothing but a homogenized form of the mystery system with a white face. So what we had to do for almost 12, 13 painstaking years was to go in and re-blacken this stuff. Something like King Arthur and Guinevere. That's Isis and Osiris. You see what I'm saying? Which they got text of that book, Rundle and Clark's book, Egyptian Myths and Symbols, says that this whole Arthurian King Arthur, nice little round table, comes straight out of Kemetic. So we had to reclassify stuff that you was thinking that was European. It was just the preserved information coming from the 16 universities from Spain and all across Europe that later on became the occult. And then somewhere in the late 70s and early 80s, it became the New Age, which was nothing but the mystery system. And I remember this good. I walked into a metaphysical bookstore, and I said, "What is this book, this Hermetic stuff I'm always hearing?" And the white guy said, "That is Hermes, which is the Egyptian Tahuti." I said, "I got it. That means all this shit in here is Kemetic." And over this, we had to do a lot of reclassifying, and I had to do a lot of things thinking. I got over 300 DVDs, videos at 6 and 7 hours, but in the 90s it was 7 hours, 8 hours.
Right.
I was doing them kind of marathons, did 10 hours in LA. So it was 7 hours, 8 hours. Then in the 2000s, it went to 5 and 6. But what happened was I had to give all this particular information. Then, around the millennium, what it started happening was I tapped into a spirit world. I became more funny, because if you go in the 90s, I was real serious. I was funny, but I was real serious. Then, in West Coast, I just became hilarious. You see what I'm saying? That was the spirit. So I started going through my own initiation. Now, as a result, now, because I don't have to deal with it, because I laid down so much of scholarship, the stuff that I'm on now is what the spirit comes through. So about 2.5 months ago, the Archangel Raphael came through. And then the 4 other archangels, Raphael, Gabriel, Michael, and Uriel. Now we know 100 years before the last temple was closed, the temple of Isis at Philae, 100 years before that, what the Egyptian priests did is translated from the Netters and Metanetta, from the gods. They translated it into Hebrew, Latin, Greek, Aramaic, Coptic, and all the existing Arabic, all the existing languages around that whole Mediterranean world. You see what I'm saying? They copied the Metanetta. So we know that, and you know the white folks had a conference in 91 called the Alexandrian Conference, where this is exactly what they talked about, on how the Egyptians translated all of this text into the existing languages, because they knew prophecy. They knew that Metanetta wouldn't be around. They knew it was going to fall into a dead language until it was resurrected again, partly by Champollion, but completely by a black man from Chicago, that the Egyptologist Rickety Wimby talks about, that they could not translate it. He translated some vowels, well, not some vowels, he translated a couple of things, but they couldn't get the grammar, they couldn't get the language, they couldn't really break the keys, and they got a Negro off the street. And he came in and just translated from genetic memory bank. Just like we got a brother named Yehoshua, learned Hebrew in a week. That's how I know it's a black language. Learned Hebrew in a week, and the rabbis at Boston University got him to start teaching them, because there's certain things they couldn't see the glyphs without having the melanin. You see what I'm saying? So they translated a lot of stuff from Netters became the archangels. So Raphael is Tahuti, Michael is a form of Amun-Ra and Heru. Gabriel could be a cross between Tahuti and a cross between music deities. It would be Sarasvati in India, and that would be a form of Mayat in Kemet. And you got Uriel, which we can trace her to be a form of Oya in Yoruba, and probably another storm goddess in Egypt. So we can see that these archangels was actually a creation or a recreation from the Egyptian priests. As a matter of fact, we now know that the archangels come from Cush. They come from Cush. We have a picture of one of the heads of the archangels go back into this. We've got a polarization. This is a fragment from the Coptic text. This person you can see clearly has an afro, you know, looking like Angela Davis or Ricky Silvers or, you know what I'm saying, or Jermaine Jackson. He had, I think he had the biggest fro. You can clearly see that. This is a deity, and this is a fragment of a deity because we want to celebrate on Mother's Day. Let me get this. Drusilla Dundee Houston's book, Wonderful Ethiopians and the Ancient Kushite Empire. Wonderful Ethiopians and the Ancient Kushite Empire. This book still in print? Anybody else see this book?
Yes, it's still in print.
This woman wrote this book, a black woman, in 1926. And it is still the definitive text on anything based on Ethiopia and Kush that goes all the way up into East India. Goes all the way up into East India. You can visit an East Indian restaurant, and you can visit an Ethiopian restaurant, and you will see similarities of the same cultures to let you know that it was all the Kushite Empire. In this particular book, Drusilla Dundee Houston's book, is one of the books, and you can tell when a book is on the money when they can't find scholarship to touch it after 80-something years. Wonderful Ethiopian in the ancient Kushite Empire, where all of that was Kush. Ethiopia, Egypt, Samaria, Mesopotamia, Turkey, Chile, Pakistan, Afghanistan, East India, probably all the way up into Tibet. And she covers that in it, so we celebrate this woman. This sister did this in 1926. In 1926, we were still walking around with chewing tobacco. You see what I'm saying? And a hog was our best friend. Now, so we say that to give praises to this that came up, this deity. So what happens is, I'm going to set the tone. My research now is what spiritual entity shows up. That way, I don't deal with stuff, I can deal with stuff that works. I don't have to have a guessing game based on random scholarship or some stuff that might be outmoded. So I wait on the deity to show up. Well, when y'all ready for me to deal with some stuff that show up, this deity showed up about 3 months ago. His name is Akhenaten. Akhenaten the Ethiopian. Akhenaten the Ethiopian. Now, I had this book about 15, 16 years ago and used this book randomly on numerous occasions and never saw the deity. That means that the deity will reveal itself at an allotted time. So what happens? I get these books. They give me what I want out of the books. But if I didn't see this deity in 15 years and it shows up in March of this year, that meant that this deity only was supposed to show up March of this year. Now this is a book called Ancient Christian Magic, the Coptic Texts and Rituals of Power. Ancient Christian Magic by Marvin Mayer, M-E-Y-E-R, and Richard Smith. Marvin Mayer, they edited these texts. So what happened was that they dug up these Nag Hammadi texts in 1945. They didn't translate these texts, these Coptic texts, until 1977. But what they found out was what accompanied these Gnostic texts, or Coptic texts, which is the precursor to Christianity, what accompanied them was all these magical texts. So a lot of the scholars, they left the magical texts out. They didn't deal with them because that would take it back to ancient Kemetic or ancient Africa. You see, they wanted it to resemble the later day Christianity, which is a copy of an earlier Christianity started in Egypt. But later day Christianity wouldn't be accompanied with all this magical text. So as a result, they come out secretly with all of the magical Coptic texts. And in there shows up Raphael, Gabriel, Michael, Uriel. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of the text is a deity called Natal. So what we're dealing with, and I had to do a whole lecture on this thing. Last, I think it was on April the 4th. When did Martin Luther King die? April 4th. Yes. And so somehow the actual date fell on that day that I did this thing, celebrating a picture, because we've always heard that Ethiopia is the mother of Egypt, but we don't have a lot of information on what are those gods. So there was a god called Orseti that a woman channels down in Ethiopia, and the National Geographic showed this woman's story. She channels Orseti. But this one, Natal, is the head deity over the other archangels. His name is Metatron, later on in the Kabbalistic sphere. This is Natal. We're going to get back into him. But what you're looking at here is, and I should have blew up one of these to sell. It's a fragment, but it's an actual ancient picture of a deity that predates Egypt. An Ethiopian Kushite deity called Natal. A-K-N-A-T-O-R, the Ethiopian. Write that down and call on this deity, because this deity is coming back this summer. We'll get back into that. Coming back this summer. Y'all all right? This is very important research and information. So now, what I deal with is, so during the time of Nature's rise, then Gabriel comes back. Raphael, Uriel, Michael, especially Raphael, which means, you know, our people, the dead people, the Christians, even the Muslims or whoever, they might not get with Kemetic, but you start mentioning them archangels, they go, oh, I've heard about that sometime in my life. That means we're talking about a synthesis from the people that know the advanced knowledge and the people that are still in the church and still in different traditions. There's a common link, and you can deal with them through these angels because these shits is real. But you must understand, this is not a creation of Christianity. This is a creation of Ethiopia, or Kushite, Kemetic knowledge. And these deities are shown back up. We're going to get into them also. And they have brought an economic stimulus package we're going to deal with today. We're going to deal with today in a few minutes. This economic stimulus package, I'm going to show you how this thing works. All you got to do is pay $5 for a check that I'm going to sell you, and it's going to be on. Now, in order to make this thing work, what we have to do is, the shit is real. I'm telling you. I got a couple of little gifts we're going to get into. We're going to get into that is going to be some stuff that you can benefit from. Now, the white folks gave me this. See, white folks started treating me like an angel, me and my queen, like kings and queens back in 2007. But I've always been incognito with white folks, which meant is, when you see me around white folks, I'm just a laughing and a grinning. But I'm incognito. As a result, my mama taught me that. My mama be driving down the street. She was a school teacher. She said, watch these white folks when they see me, they gonna damn near wreck the car. They loved her, they loved her ass. And when she died, white folks showed up at the wake. It was like, shit. Your mama was telling me shit when we couldn't even talk to black people. You know, we was communicating. The point I'm trying to make here is, they deal with us every day and we never know what they into. Remember, I went to a UFO Illuminati convention, conspiracy, UFO, all of that, went to a convention. And the guy who was putting on the convention center, them 5 schools. He delivered Pepsi Cola at them, fill up the vending machines, and at a store I used to work. I said, you the Pepsi Cola man. He said, you never know who you're talking to. So they always amongst us incognito. So I don't let them know what I am. So I go there just as happy and gullible, and they give me secrets. They feel the energy, they reveal. So they gave me this check. I believe shit, white folks are dealing with this shit. And they got money. I said I need to deal with that. You understand what I'm saying? Meanwhile, they didn't really give me the check. The spirit